The story of Dom Pérignon and the origins of the champagne are both fascinating and intertwined with the history of champagne itself. While Dom Pierre Pérignon is often mythologized as the father of champagne, his life and contributions were actually more nuanced, and his work was part of a larger tradition of innovation in the region. Dom Pierre Pérignon, the man and his role. Dom Pierre Pérignon was born in 1638 in Champagne, France, and became a Benedictine monk at the Abbey of Hautevillers, a small village located near Epernay in the Champagne region. He was a man of learning and devotion, who worked diligently for the abbey's betterment, focusing on religious duties as well as the practical needs of the monastic community. It was here at the abbey that Dom Pierre Pérignon would make his greatest mark, not through religious texts or church reforms, but through innovations in winemaking. The champagne of the time. When Dom Pierre Pérignon took over as the cellar master at Hautevillers around 1668, the region was already known for its wine production. However, the wines of Champagne were still quite different from the sparkling, effervescent wines we recognize today. They were typically still wines, non-sparkling, that had an unusual tendency to become accidentally carbonated in the bottle due to natural fermentation in cool temperatures. In the 17th century, winemaking was a rudimentary process, and the art of creating sparkling wine was not fully understood. Wines from Champagne were often cloudy, unstable, and considered inferior to the wines of Burgundy or Bordeaux. Dom Pérignon's innovations. Dom Pierre Pérignon's work as cellar master focused on refining the quality of the wines, but contrary to popular myth, he didn't invent sparkling wine. Instead, he made a series of important innovations that improved the production of both still and sparkling wines. Blending of grapes. One of Dom Pérignon's most significant contributions to champagne production was his emphasis on blending different grape varieties, which was a relatively novel idea at the time. He used both Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, the two primary grape varieties that are still the backbone of Champagne today, blending them together to create a more complex and balanced wine. By mixing different grape varieties, Dom Pérignon improved the consistency and quality of the wine, making it less prone to fluctuations due to the weather or harvest. Improved fermentation techniques. He worked on refining the techniques for fermentation, making it more controlled. This not only improved the quality of the wine but also allowed him to avoid some of the more dangerous aspects of winemaking, such as bottles exploding due to uncontrolled fermentation. Champagne's natural carbonation, a result of the secondary fermentation in the bottle, was still a mystery to many at the time, and while Dom Pérignon didn't invent it, his methods contributed to refining the process and better managing its production. Glass bottles and corks. Dom Pérignon is often credited with improving the quality of glass bottles used to store the wine. The bottles of the 17th century were often weak and prone to exploding because of the high pressure caused by carbonation. Dom Pérignon is believed to have worked on improving the thickness and strength of bottles. Additionally, he is sometimes associated with the use of corks, rather than wooden plugs, to seal bottles, a method that became crucial to Champagne's development. Reputation and perfection. Perhaps most importantly, Dom Pérignon helped elevate the reputation of Champagne as a fine wine. He insisted on rigorous standards for the wine, working to refine the fermentation, pressing, and blending processes in order to craft wines of greater complexity and stability. This helped Champagne emerge as a respected wine region in France and Europe. Dom Pérignon and the creation of sparkling champagne. The idea that Dom Pierre Pérignon invented sparkling champagne is a popular legend, but it's not entirely accurate. The effervescence in Champagne was more of an accidental discovery. It happens when the secondary fermentation, in which yeast converts remaining sugar into alcohol, occurs in the bottle, producing carbon dioxide. This was not entirely understood in Dom Pérignon's time, and he certainly worked with wines that had varying degrees of sparkle. However, the explosion of bubbles in wine, particularly in Champagne, became a distinctive feature only after secondary fermentation had been carefully controlled. Dom Pérignon contributed to making sparkling wines more consistent by experimenting with various methods and refining production techniques. Dom Pierre Pérignon's legacy. Dom Pierre Pérignon died in 1715, but his influence on Champagne endures. Despite the popular myth, the sparkling wines produced in his lifetime were still somewhat unpredictable and inconsistent. It wasn't until nearly a century later, in the late 18th century, that the method of producing consistent sparkling champagne, called the traditional method or méthode champenoise, was fully refined by other winemakers. However, Dom Pérignon's work laid the groundwork for future generations. His focus on quality, blending, and the improvement of viticulture and winemaking techniques formed the basis of the modern champagne industry. The modern Dom Pérignon brand. The Dom Pérignon brand as we know it today was not associated with the monk during his lifetime but rather developed by the Moët and Chandon Champagne House, which first began producing it in the early 20th century. In 1921, Moët and Chandon produced the first vintage Dom Pérignon, using the best grapes from a single harvest. The champagne was initially created as a tribute to Dom Pérignon and his contributions to the art of winemaking, and it has since become one of the world's most prestigious and iconic luxury champagnes. The modern Dom Pérignon champagne is a vintage champagne, meaning it is made only in exceptional years, and the house's philosophy focuses on showcasing the unique characteristics of the harvest. Today, Dom Pérignon remains a symbol of quality, elegance, and luxury, crafted in the same spirit of perfection that Dom Pierre Pérignon pursued centuries ago. Conclusion. While Dom Pierre Pérignon did not invent sparkling wine as legend suggests, his contributions to winemaking in the Champagne region were crucial in shaping the future of the industry. He elevated champagne through his innovations in blending, fermentation, and quality control. His legacy lives on in the iconic Dom Pérignon Champagne brand, which continues to embody the pursuit of excellence that he began centuries ago. The evolution of champagne, particularly Dom Pérignon, from a modest regional wine to a symbol of luxury is a fascinating journey that spans centuries. The rise of champagne as a luxury product is tied to a combination of historical events, technological advancements, royal patronage, and marketing brilliance. Dom Pérignon, in particular, has become synonymous with the very idea of prestige, sophistication, and high society. Here's how champagne evolved over time and came to be seen as the ultimate symbol of luxury. 1. The early days, from still wine to sparkling wine, 17th to 18th century. The origins of champagne production. As we discussed earlier, Dom Pierre Pérignon, 1638 to 1715, was a Benedictine monk at the Abbey of Hautevillers in Champagne. While he didn't invent sparkling wine, his contributions were pivotal in refining the production techniques that would eventually lead to the champagne we recognize today. During the 17th century, wines from the Champagne region were typically still wines that were often unstable due to fermentation. These wines were mostly consumed locally and didn't yet have the prestige or reputation that would later define them. The development of sparkling champagne. The process of secondary fermentation in the bottle, which creates the bubbles, was well understood by the early 18th century. However, it wasn't until the late 1600s and early 1700s that the Champagne region's wines began to develop a reputation for sparkle. This effervescent. I know you are enjoying this journey I'm taking you through. Please click the like and subscribe button and turn on your notification for more epics like this. Thanks as we move on. Champagne at the court of Versailles. The turning point came with the reign of Louis XIV, 1643 to 1715, who became known as the Sun King and was famous for his extravagant lifestyle. Louis XIV was a connoisseur of fine wine, and he was among the first to embrace champagne as a drink of the aristocracy. It was during his reign that champagne became the preferred drink at the court of Versailles. Louis XIV's royal patronage gave champagne the prestige it needed to transition from a regional wine to an elite drink. By the late 1600s, champagne began to be served at royal celebrations, banquets, and gatherings, elevating its status. A drink for the elite. The court's embrace of champagne soon spread to other European royal families and nobles. Marie Antoinette, Louis XVI's queen, became particularly associated with champagne, further cementing its link with luxury and high society. It was at the royal court that champagne was first used as a symbol of celebration, wealth, and exclusivity, marking the beginning of its transformation into a drink for the privileged. Dom Pérignon is considered a vintage champagne because it is only made from the grapes harvested in a single exceptional year, rather than from a blend of multiple years. This is a hallmark of high-quality champagne production. The term vintage in this context means that the champagne represents the unique characteristics of that specific year's harvest, reflecting the climate, weather conditions, and other factors that influence the grapes. Here's a deeper look at why Dom Pérignon is a vintage champagne and why it's only produced in select years. 1. Single harvest year. Dom Pérignon is always a vintage champagne, meaning that all the grapes used in its production come from a single year's harvest. The champagne is named after the year it was produced, such as Dom Pérignon 2008 or Dom Pérignon 2010. To qualify as a vintage, the harvest must meet strict criteria of quality, and the wine must be produced exclusively from grapes picked during that year. Strict selection of exceptional years. Dom Pérignon is only produced in years that meet the house's rigorous standards for quality. The decision to declare a vintage is made only after careful assessment of the harvest, including factors like the weather, ripeness of the grapes, and overall potential for exceptional quality. Champagne houses, including Dom Pérignon, typically produce a vintage only in years that offer the right combination of conditions for creating a complex and refined champagne. This is why Dom Pérignon is not made every year. In fact, there can be gaps of several years between releases, depending on the conditions of the harvest. 3. Blending and aging process. After the grapes from the selected vintage are harvested, Dom Pérignon undergoes a meticulous production process, which includes blending different grape varieties, typically Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, to create a balanced and harmonious wine. Once blended, the wine is aged in the cellars for a minimum of 8 years, although Dom Pérignon often ages their wines much longer before releasing them to allow for greater complexity and refinement. The extended aging process gives Dom Pérignon its signature depth and richness, while the time spent on the lees, the dead yeast cells, contributes to its smooth texture and fine, persistent bubbles. 4. Consistency and excellence. The focus on select years allows Dom Pérignon to maintain the consistency and excellence of its champagne. By only producing it in the best years, Dom Pérignon ensures that the final product is always of the highest standard, with the complexity and aging potential that collectors and connoisseurs expect. In short, Dom Pérignon is a vintage champagne because it is made from the grapes of a single exceptional harvest, and it is only produced in years when the conditions are ideal. This selective approach ensures that each bottle is a unique reflection of the best that year had to offer, making it a symbol of craftsmanship and exclusivity in the world of champagne. Conducting a tasting of Dom Pérignon vintages is a delightful and sensory-rich experience. To get the most out of it, you'll want to focus on the aroma, flavor, and texture of each wine, paying attention to how these elements evolve over time. Here's a guide to help you through a tasting of one or more vintages, noting what to look for in each of these categories. Setting up for the tasting. Glassware. Use tulip-shaped champagne glasses. Flutes are fine, but wider glasses allow more aroma expression. Temperature. Serve the champagne at 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 10 degrees Celsius. Too cold, and you miss some of the nuances. Too warm, and the flavors can become overwhelming. Pouring. Pour only about 1/3 of the glass to allow for the wine's aromas to gather at the surface. Tasting order. If tasting multiple vintages, start with the youngest wine and work your way to the oldest to avoid having the older wine overpower the younger ones. Dom Pérignon 2010, Younger Vintage. Aroma. Initial. The nose is fresh, lively, and vibrant. Expect bright citrus notes, such as lemon zest and orange peel, combined with floral nuances like white flowers, jasmine or honeysuckle. A slight minerality often comes through as well, hinting at the terroir of Champagne. Development. As the wine opens up, deeper, more complex aromas emerge, toasted bread, almonds, and hints of marzipan or pastry, giving a nod to the wine's time spent on the lees. Flavor. Initial taste. Crisp and zesty, with lively acidity that balances the richness. The citrus fruit notes lead, followed by green apple, pear, and a touch of grapefruit. Mid-palate, a subtle creaminess begins to emerge as the wine unfolds, with flavors of brioche and light honeycomb, building complexity. Finish. The finish is long and clean, with lingering citrus and slightly nutty flavors. The balance of freshness and richness is impressive. Texture. Body. Medium-bodied with a soft, creamy texture from the extended lees contact, giving the wine a certain smoothness. Bubbles. Fine and persistent, providing a delicate mousse that lifts the wine without overwhelming it. Dom Pérignon 2008, Mid-Age Vintage. Aroma. Initial. The nose is more refined and complex, with a balance of citrus and stone fruit notes. Think ripe peaches and pears alongside a distinct chalky minerality. Development. As it opens, aromas of toasted brioche, nuts, especially hazelnuts, and light caramel begin to emerge, showcasing the wine's evolution. There may be hints of spice and vanilla from oak influence, but it's all elegantly integrated. Flavor. Initial taste, the wine is vibrant and fresh, with citrus and apple notes leading the way. However, there's more depth than the 2010, with slightly richer flavors of apricot and a touch of creaminess. Mid-palate, the mid-palate shows more complexity, with flavors of brioche, toasted almonds, and a delicate honeyed note, indicating the wine's aging potential. Finish, the finish is exceptionally long, with a fine balance between fresh fruit and savory, nutty notes. The minerality remains prominent, adding a layer of sophistication. Texture. Body, full body compared to the younger vintage, with a rounder, fuller mouthfeel that still retains freshness. Bubbles, the mousse is very fine and smooth, and it contributes to the wine's elegant mouthfeel without distracting from its complexity. Dom Pérignon 2002, older vintage. Aroma. Initial, the nose is immediately more mature, with deeper, rich notes of baked apple, dried fruit, apricot, fig, and a touch of honeycomb and gingerbread. There's a notable roasted coffee aroma, which hints at the aging process and complexity. Development, as it opens, more tertiary aromas like toasted hazelnuts, warm pastry dough, and light caramel or butterscotch start to unfold. These aromas indicate the wine's maturation and its beautiful integration of oxidative notes. Flavor. Initial taste, the 2002 is more opulent and round, with rich flavors of baked apple, golden raisins, and marzipan. The fruitiness is still vibrant, but there is a roundness that comes from its longer aging. Mid-palate, there's a deeper layer of flavors here, roasted nuts, rich toast, and a slight hint of vanilla bean. The mid-palate feels luxurious, showing the wine's full development. Finish, the finish is long and creamy, with echoes of honey, dried fruits, and toasted oak. There is a beautiful balance of sweetness and acidity, making the wine both rich and refreshing. Texture. Body, full-bodied with a creamy texture that coats the palate. The wine has developed a smooth, velvety mouthfeel over time, with a slight richness from the extended lees aging. Bubbles, the bubbles are finer and softer, giving the wine an elegant mousse that complements its complex flavors and texture. Tasting notes summary. 2010, fresh, citrusy, and bright with youthful energy and crisp acidity. The texture is soft, with fine bubbles and a creamy mouthfeel. 2008, more complexity and depth, with citrus, stone fruits, and nutty, brioche-like notes. The wine feels fuller, with a refined, creamy texture and fine bubbles. 2002, a more mature, opulent vintage with developed aromas of dried fruits, honey, and toasted nuts. The texture is round and luxurious, with a smooth, velvety finish. Final tips for tasting. Take your time to let each vintage breathe and open up. Champagne evolves in the glass, and you'll notice subtle changes over the course of your tasting. Focus on the balance between acidity, fruit, and the autolytic flavors, like toast and nuts, which are important markers of Dom Perignon's aging process. Note how the texture and mouthfeel shift with age. Young wines tend to be more crisp and vibrant, while older wines can be more creamy and lush. Tasting multiple vintages of Dom Pérignon side by side provides a fascinating look at how this iconic champagne evolves over time, revealing the artistry and precision behind each bottle. Appreciating champagne is a fun and rewarding experience that can be made even more enjoyable with a few simple tips. If you're just starting out, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the variety of styles, labels, and terminology. But with a few basics, you'll be able to enhance your enjoyment and deepen your appreciation of this sparkling wine. 1. Understand champagne's basic components. Before diving into the tasting, it's helpful to know what you're drinking. Champagne is a sparkling wine made from specific grapes grown in the Champagne region of France. The key grape varieties are Chardonnay, adds freshness, acidity, and citrus notes. Pinot Noir, brings body, structure, and red fruit flavors. Pinot Meunier, contributes fruitiness and roundness. Champagne is made through traditional method champenoise, where the wine undergoes secondary fermentation in the bottle, creating its characteristic bubbles. Dom Pérignon, one of the most iconic champagne labels, is known for its complexity, balance, and rich flavor profile. When pairing it with food, especially dishes like oysters, caviar, roasted chicken, and desserts, you'll want to consider how the champagne's freshness, acidity, and toasty notes can complement the food. Here are some ideas for pairing these items with Dom Pérignon. 1. Oysters. Why it works: the high acidity and mineral notes of Dom Pérignon make it a perfect match for oysters, enhancing the natural briny flavors of the shellfish. Pairing suggestions: serve oysters raw with a light mignonette sauce or just a squeeze of lemon. For a more decadent twist, you can also pair Dom Pérignon with oysters that are lightly dressed with a champagne mignonette or a delicate beurre blanc sauce. Dom Pérignon characteristics to highlight: the fresh, crisp acidity of Dom Pérignon complements the briny, oceanic flavors of oysters while its complexity adds layers of depth to the pairing. Caviar. Why it works: caviar and champagne are a luxurious combination, and Dom Pérignon's fine bubbles and rich texture can cut through the buttery, salty flavors of caviar while enhancing its subtle taste. Pairing suggestions: serve with traditional accompaniments like blinis and crème fraîche, or just enjoy it on its own with a spoon. Dom Pérignon works well with both black and golden caviar, especially varieties like beluga or ossetra. Dom Pérignon characteristics to highlight: the champagne's smooth texture and rich mouthfeel complement the luxurious, buttery nature of the caviar. The acidity helps to balance the saltiness. 3. Roasted chicken. Why it works: the delicate yet full-bodied nature of Dom Pérignon pairs beautifully with the savory, slightly caramelized flavors of roasted chicken, especially when it's seasoned with herbs. Pairing suggestions: roasted chicken with herbs, think thyme, rosemary, garlic, and lemon, or a light sauce like a beurre blanc or hollandaise works well. Try it with roasted chicken served with root vegetables or a creamy mashed potato side. Dom Pérignon characteristics to highlight: the champagne's rich, toasty flavors and fine mousse balance the savory richness of roasted chicken, while the acidity helps cleanse the palate between bites. When comparing Dom Pérignon to other prestigious champagnes like Krug, Cristal, and Veuve Clicquot La Grande Dame, it's essential to understand both the unique style and the characteristics that define each of these luxury champagne houses. While all of these brands are highly regarded, each has a distinct approach to winemaking, terroir, and blending. Here's a detailed comparison of each. 1. Dom Pérignon. Style: Dom Pérignon is the flagship prestige cuvée of Moët and Chandon, and its style can be described as elegant, refined, and complex with a focus on balance. It's made exclusively from Grand Cru vineyards and is always a vintage-only champagne, i.e., made from grapes harvested in a single year. Dom Pérignon is often seen as the embodiment of timelessness and classic champagne. Tasting notes: Dom Pérignon typically displays a balance between acidity, fruitiness, and toasty, biscuity notes, thanks to extended lees aging. The wines tend to have a rich texture with a creamy mouthfeel and flavors of citrus, stone fruits, and subtle honey, along with an elegant finish. Style profile: rich and elegant, balanced acidity, bready/yeasty. Ideal pairings: oysters, caviar, roasted chicken, creamy desserts, and light seafood dishes. Krug. Style: Krug is renowned for its rich, opulent, and complex style, often described as the most non-champagne-like champagne because of its deep, layered flavors. Krug is unique in that it is blended from multiple vintages, often up to 10 different years in a single bottle, and focuses on achieving a very high level of complexity. It is also one of the few houses that employs a longer aging process on its lees, sometimes up to 7 years or more. Tasting notes: expect intense bread, nut, and dried fruit aromas, along with rich honey, citrus, and toasted almond notes. Krug has a full-bodied, unctuous character with a very long finish. It's known for its powerful presence, yet its acidity keeps it vibrant. Style profile: opulent and complex, full-bodied, nutty/toasty. Ideal pairings: luxurious dishes like foie gras, truffles, lobster, and rich pâté, as well as aged cheeses like Comte or Gruyère. Cristal, Louis Roederer. Style: Cristal is the prestige cuvée from Louis Roederer, and it has earned a reputation for being a symbol of elegance and refinement. Known for its brilliant clarity, hence the name Cristal, it was originally created in 1876 for Tsar Alexander II of Russia. Cristal is typically a blend of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, with a strong emphasis on freshness and mineral purity, reflecting the terroir of the Côte de Blancs, for Chardonnay, and the Montagne de Reims, for Pinot Noir. Tasting notes: Cristal is typically characterized by crisp citrus notes, white flowers, and mineral undertones, often with a hint of brioche from the extended lees aging. It's known for its precision, freshness, and refined complexity. The wine tends to have a finely textured mousse and a more linear structure compared to the others. Style profile: elegant and precise, mineral and fresh, citrus-driven. Ideal pairings, delicate seafood, e.g., lobster, scallops, sushi, light poultry, and sophisticated soft cheeses, like brie de meaux or goat cheese. Each of these high-end champagnes has its own distinct personality, and the choice between them largely depends on your preference for richness, Krug, elegance, Dom Pérignon, freshness, Cristal. While they all represent the pinnacle of champagne craftsmanship, their unique flavor profiles make them better suited for different types of pairings and occasions. Dom Pérignon is not only a hallmark of exceptional quality in the world of champagne but also a cultural icon that embodies luxury, status, and celebration. Its presence in both elite social circles and popular culture over the years has solidified its reputation as a symbol of indulgence and sophistication. Here's an exploration of Dom Pérignon's cultural significance, its role in luxury, and its prominent place in pop culture. 1. Dom Pérignon and the world of luxury. Dom Pérignon was established in the 17th century by the Benedictine monk Dom Pérignon, who is often credited with developing techniques that contributed to the early creation of champagne. However, the modern Dom Pérignon brand as we know it was popularized by Moët and Chandon, which introduced the prestige cuvée under this name in the 1920s. Today, it is synonymous with the highest level of champagne craftsmanship and remains one of the most prestigious names in the wine world. A symbol of excellence, Dom Pérignon is created only in the best years, often from Grand Cru vineyards, and it's always a vintage champagne, meaning it's made only from grapes harvested in a single year. This focus on quality and rarity plays a key role in its luxury appeal. When people reach for a bottle of Dom Pérignon, they are not just choosing a drink but a symbol of distinction and sophistication. Dom Pérignon in pop culture. The cultural relevance of Dom Pérignon stretches far beyond the realm of wine connoisseurs and luxury markets. It has been prominently featured in movies, music, art, and fashion, solidifying its place in the world of pop culture as the drink of choice for the rich and famous, and even as a symbol of rebellion and decadence. In film and television, Dom Pérignon's presence in cinema has been a deliberate choice by filmmakers who want to convey wealth, luxury, or the ultimate in sophistication. For example, The Great Gatsby, 2013 in Baz Luhrmann's adaptation of F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel, Dom Pérignon appears as the drink of choice in Jay Gatsby's extravagant parties, reinforcing the idea of excess and opulence. The association with Gatsby, a character who represents the height of the Jazz Age's materialism and ambition, aligns perfectly with the champagne's reputation. James Bond films, often portraying an ultra-luxurious lifestyle, have repeatedly featured Dom Pérignon. In Casino Royale, 2006, Daniel Craig's Bond enjoys a bottle of Dom Pérignon with his first serious love interest. This reinforces the character's sophisticated, high-status persona, as Bond is always associated with the finer things in life. The Devil Wears Prada, 2006 Dom Pérignon is featured in scenes that depict the glamorous fashion industry, showing how it serves as a cultural symbol of success and exclusivity. In music, Dom Pérignon is also a favorite in the music industry, where artists often use it to project wealth, luxury, and success. Several rap, hip-hop, and R&B artists have referenced the brand in their songs, sometimes using it as a metaphor for their rise to fame and fortune. For example, Jay-Z frequently mentions Dom Pérignon in his music, most notably in the song, Show Me What You Got, where he celebrates his success with the line, Dom Pérignon, you know, the best. The brand thus becomes a marker of status and achievement. Kanye West has also mentioned Dom Pérignon in his music, connecting the champagne to themes of luxury and indulgence, which are central to his persona. Celebrity endorsements. Celebrities often enjoy Dom Pérignon at high-profile events like award shows, red carpets, and private parties, which reinforces its association with fame and success. As a result, the champagne's image is forever linked to the elite, whether they are actors, musicians, athletes, or entrepreneurs. Social media and influencers. In the age of social media, Dom Pérignon has become a visual symbol of affluence, often appearing in Instagram posts of high-net-worth individuals or influencers at luxurious events. Bottles of Dom Pérignon are frequently displayed at exclusive parties or private celebrations, contributing to its ongoing image as a premium lifestyle product. So whether you're savoring Dom Pérignon for its iconic history or its exceptional flavor, this champagne truly offers an experience unlike any other. Have you ever tried Dom Pérignon? Let me know your favorite vintage in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more luxury reviews. Thanks for watching, and remember, every glass tells a story. Cheers. Please like and subscribe.